Hello everyone and welcome to yrrhelp, and in this video I'm going to show you how to validate your form input. And in my last video I have shown you how to create a form, and I have shown you how to get form data in your view controller. And if you're not following through my old videos, you can go through my playlist. I have provided a link in the description. You can see that videos if you're interested. And basically what I'm going to do is that I'm going to validate my username field here, and I'm going to display an error message if my username field is empty. Now as we already know that whenever I click on login here, Spring will bind my form data in my user Pojo class, and it will send to my user controller, which is here to my process login method. So that's how it works. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to go to my Pojo class here, and I'm going to say annotation, which is called not blank. So that's how you define a constraint or a validation in Spring Boot. Now you can see there are two implementations. You can either choose Java X validation, that is base validation, or you can go for Hibernate. So with Hibernate, you have so many extra features. You can use either one of them, no problem. So I'm going to stick to the basic one. Now, so this is how it works. So whenever say not blank, Spring will throw errors whenever I try to um, enter an empty value into username. Say for example, whenever I try to click on login here with an empty username, so Pojo is going to register with an empty username. So at the time, Spring will throw error. So that's how it works. Now as an value, you can even set a default error message. So I'm going to say username can't be empty. So that's how it works. Now there are so many annotations available. Like for example, if you want to specify minimum length and maximum length, you can use max and min annotations, and you can even use a size annotation to specify a range. And if you're using Hibernate validations, then you can even use email annotation for email validation, phone number validation, and at max you can use regular expressions using patterns. So there are so many things. You can have a look at them in the documentation. Now what I'm going to do is that now that we have a specific constraint here, now I'm going to go to my controller. So I'm going to say something like valid. So let's say if you don't specify this annotation, Spring won't validate input. So if you want Spring to validate your form input, you got to specify this annotation valid. So whenever you specify this annotation, Spring will try to validate your form data. So that's how it works. I'm going to import that one. Now once Spring validates your form data, it will throw all the errors. If there are any error messages, it will throw in this class, errors class. So don't confuse with error and errors. So error is a completely different class. The one you should be using is errors. Right, let me import that one. Now as I said, Spring, when I use this validate annotation, Spring will validate my form data, and it will and it will catch all the error messages here if there are any error messages. Now what we can do is that we can use that sorry errors object, and we can use a method called has errors, and we will be easily, so we can easily know if there are any errors in my form data. So now let's say if I have any errors, I'm going to return back. So I'm going to send back to the actual user login page. So here I will do my actual login processing. All right. Now the thing is that we should go to our login page, and we should be able to capture this error message, and we should display the error message in our view right here. All right. So I'm going to go to my JSP view, and if you remember correctly, I'm using a Spring tag libraries, which is provided by Spring. And if you're using any other technology other than JSP, I'm sure there is an alternative for Spring tag libraries. You can go through it once. Now I'm going to use an special tag called form errors. I think it's errors. So I'm going to use these tags, and I'm going to map this tag to username, which is what we did for input here. So I'm going to do the exact same thing. So what happens is that if there is any if there is any error for this particular username field, it's going to display right here. Now I'm going to add an CSS attribute, which is just to highlight our error message. So that's it, we are done here. What we have done is that we have added a constraint using Java Bean Validation API, and we are saying Spring to validate our form data, and we are capturing the errors, and we are checking if there are any error messages, and finally in our view page we are displaying the error message particular to username field. All right, now let me just run this one, and let me show you how does it works. Now one thing is that I went to my application or properties, and I changed my server port to 9090 because Jenkins was running on my default port, so I got to change this one. Now let me run this one demo application. All right, now I'm going to refresh my page. Now when I try to log in um, with the empty string, should display yes, see, as you can see, it's displaying my error message. So if you're wondering, so this is the error message which we have specified in our annotation. This is the default error message. And the thing is that we can even create our own custom validations, and in my next video I'm going to show you how to create your own custom validations. Thanks for viewing, guys. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe us. Thank you.